Okay, so we've got this hypothetical, and then I'm going to look at the spreadsheet, so you can be pulling out the pages, the spreadsheet starting on 56, okay, black and white. So you take the club's contributions, donations to the annual fund share, divide it by the total for the district, and that comes up with a percentage. You then multiply that by the available DDF, and it comes out with the fair share of DDF available. Okay, so now let's look at the spreadsheet. And since Belmont at Redwood Shores is at the top, I'm going to use those as the example, but if you want to look at your own clubs, by all means do so. So this has the first three columns of numbers are the amount of annual giving that your club did for that particular period of time. And notice the third one, designated 2019 to 2020, only goes through December 31st. So we gave you this spreadsheet as a basis for you to try to project what you have available in DDF so that you can work on planning your district grants. Again, the applications needing to be done by June 1st. I'm going to give you an update on this somewhere around April 20th through March 31st, so it'll give you even a little better number to work from. But the way the process works, and the way the prior slide showed, is that you add together all of what you have contributed to the annual fund share for those 3 years. You then compare that to the total for the district, and that gives you a percentage. And that's what's in the fifth column of numbers, and that's the total DDF that your club has available for the year. Now, if you're a new club, we actually will allocate some DDF to that, and that comes from a different source. It's not coming directly out of this DDF. We sometimes have some prior year's DDF that is coming back to your club. So, for instance, if you did a district grant that you started to do one and it didn't happen, so you add that DDF and it went back to the foundation. Or if you get involved and have had DDF allocated to a global grant, and that global grant does not materialize, then you will get that back. So that's what that column is, prior year DDF to reallocate. So you just get that back dollar for dollar on the DDF. It comes up with a total, and then the next column over says clubs allocated to global scholarships. So 2 weeks ago, at the Pre-Pets 2, the president-elect voted unanimously to fund one global grant scholar, so the amount of DDF from the district is $17,500. And actually at PETS, the president-elects are going to take a look at whether they want to fund the second one, either out of the DDF or out of some other source. But that's potential. But at any rate, that gets taken away. You come up with another subtotal. Then we bring the next column over. That's what can be allocated, you will, by June 1st for district grants. And then the net remaining available is what then gets used for global grants. Okay, so that's how this spreadsheet works. You will get updates on this now and then, either whether something significant has happened or when we need to get it out for everybody to understand. Now, one of the things you need to understand in terms of the economics here, if you do a district grant, you are essentially getting back half of what has been contributed in the past. If you do a global grant, you're really getting back 100% of what's been contributed in the past, because half of it is coming back through DDF, but the other half is coming back through the World Fund's match of that DDF. So that is the issue that you all face in terms of making the decision as to whether or not you want to use your funds for district grants or for global grants. Understanding that if you use it for district grants, you're only really getting back half of what you gave, and it's not directly what you gave because of the formula, spreading it out over 3 years. But if you want a full 100% back, then you use the funds for global grants, and you can come up with funds for your local projects from another source. All right, are there any questions about any of how the spreadsheet works or how we allocate this? As Jane indicated, our district is fairly unique in the world of Rotary in how we do this, because most districts, they have their grants committee actually make the allocations. with the designations coming a lot from the governors. Yes?
How much leeway does a club have to choose to do 100% global grant versus 100% district grant, and what is the actual historical experience of that ratio?
Okay, so the question was how much leeway do the clubs have in allocating their funds between district grants and global grants and going 100% to district grants? All right, well, as Wynn mentioned, there is a limitation on how much DDF can be allocated to district grants, and that is 50% of the total of the DDF that's available. Now, our district has not hit that level yet, but we are very close, and we could well go over it this coming year. And so when, in the district grants policies, in the handout that I mentioned to you, it talks about what happens in that case. So what we do then is the grants committee will first look at those particular grant projects that fall squarely within the 6 areas of focus. And that's something that we haven't talked about yet this morning, but we will be. So if it's within the area of focus, it gets priority. We also will essentially fund and give you credit for up to half of the DDF of your club. So we'll make sure you get at least that much. So there are various things that we are going to end up doing. But, and we, as I said, we haven't gotten there yet. But some of the questions, and Cindy will be showing you this in a little while, ask, you know, if we don't give you 100% of the DDF you requested, number one, can you still complete the project either by using your own funds or scaling it back? And that may be where you end up doing it.
I want to be triplets for a second.
Okay. You want to talk to?
Yes.
Get close.
I think I can. Well, Ron told me to move over. So to answer the question, and it's really an excellent question, when we made that change in 2016, 2017, what we also said to the clubs is, this is your DDF, you figure out how you want to spend it. If you want to do nothing but district grants, that's fine. If you want to do nothing but global grants, that's your choice. If you want to mix and match, that works too. And what we have found since that change is that some clubs do no global grants, however they give away their money to other clubs. Some clubs simply do district grants. So it is completely within your control and what your club wants to do with that DDF. Again, the annual fund donations came from each of you, and we're giving the money back. And initially, we had some clubs that were pretty good about arguing about the newfound money. It's been out enough now that I think the clubs are more comfortable in terms of how they spend it.
So, Jane, you could say that 2 years ago.
We're going to be able to.
2 years ago for DDF, we had 27, 28 clubs in the district. Last year, or this year right now, 59 have written district grants. And so you can see that clubs are getting the hang of it. We'll talk more about 59 projects. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we're done. Yeah, all right. One more question? Yes.
Yes, can you kindly give the example by a real, instead of, try to go with all of these? For example, which club do a project, use a district grant, and they want to tap into.
All right. When Cindy comes up at the end, she'll deal with that. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah. Know your program.
Right. Yeah. Well, they may have been here before. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so